Good evening, everyone. My name is Rich Hayzler. I'm the proud principal of Pequannock Township High School. Thank you for being here this evening. This is an exciting time. As I listened to this presentation, I heard the words opportunity used a lot, right? And when you have a chance at an opportunity, don't be afraid to get after it. And so the presentation that I'm going to share with you about the high school was really about an opportunity that happened for us as we looked at changing the school start time to 8:05. And that was something that was done in committee for over a year, about a year and a half now. We've been in conversation about changing the school start times and the benefits to that. And the board then made the recommendation, and the superintendent made a recommendation to move the high school start time to 8:05. So that really, I don't want to say forced us to, but it made us look at different scheduling models because our current schedule model really would not fit based on the status of what our high school community is really all about. Right? When you think about high school, yes, it's about content. It's about school that we do during the day, but there's a much larger school life that happens after high school with sports, clubs, and different things that we do. So tonight's presentation is going to show you an overview of what the new schedule would be, and moving from our traditional schedule, and then what student schedules would look like at each grade level. Okay, so when you think about what is a rotating drop block schedule, if you look on the left, okay, is our traditional schedule that we currently have at PTHS. We have 45-minute periods, 8 instructional periods a day. We have a unit lunch. All courses meet every day, and they all meet at the same time every day. And it's a 7-hour, 11-minute day for the students. When you think about what a rotating drop block looks like, we would move to 55-minute periods. We would have strict 6 instructional periods a day. There would be times, and there's a little asterisk there, where there would be times throughout the year where there will be an all-meet day, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. We'd still maintain our unit lunch. 6 of the 8 courses would meet each day. Courses would rotate the time that they meet, and the day shortens a little bit to 6 hours and 53 minutes. We did have the longest instructional day in the county, and that is a badge of honor, right? But that means our kids are spending a long time in classes. When you look at an average high school, their average time is around 6 hours and 40 minutes. Okay, so our kids are in school almost a half hour longer than other high schools, right? So we wanted to look at that and kind of figure out, is that what's best for our kids? Are there better ways that we can utilize our time for our students and still maintain the opportunities of a high school schedule? When you think about us, we are a smaller high school. Okay, we're kind of on the cusp of group 2, right? Between group 1 and group 2, and we still maintain a really robust curriculum. And that was something that obviously I was not willing to give up, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we found a schedule that would do that. So this is right here is what a rotating drop block schedule looks like. Okay, I'll give you a second to kind of look at it as I explain it to you. And I really hope I don't mess this up, which I may have just done. I'm trying to get that little spotlight, Mr. Shea. How do you do that? Click and hold. Click and hold. No, it didn't click and hold. Okay, that's all right. There it is. Woo! Oh, that's fun. All right. So on our updated schedule here, I'm used to the laser pointer, and now they go to spotlights. So up here, you're going to see that we have days. Okay, day 4, day 3, day 2, day 1. I'm going to explain through the model up here, starting with day 4, because it's just easier to see linearly. Right, so we started 8:05 in block 1 here. Okay, 8:05 starts on a Monday. They start with their period on a day 4. They start with their period 4 class. Okay, so we want to make sure that the students understand that on day 4 they're starting period 4. On day 3 they start with their period 3. On day 2 they start with their period 2, so that every student knows where they're starting on any given day. We're going to have it on TVs throughout the building that we have. It's going to be on announcements. Okay, the rotating drop block schedules are used in a majority of high schools. So if a majority of high schools can do it, I firmly believe that our Pequannock students can do it. It just might take them a week or so to get into the rotation, but once we get into it, we will be fine. So you'll see that if they have on Monday, they have period 4. Tuesday, period 4 would be in the second block, and then on Wednesday would be in the third block. On Thursday, they would not have their period 4 class. It would drop. Okay, and then they start over again on Friday with period 4. Okay, we all have our unit lunch at 10:58 to 11:43, and then you start your second block in the afternoon, starting with period 8, and so on. You're going to see that at the bottom here, we have our Panther period. which is in yellow there from 2:38 to 2:58. And I'll talk about what that looks like too as well, similar to what PV has. And you'll see at the bottom, those would be the periods that don't meet during the day. So that's really what a rotating drop block schedule looks like for the students. We already have a template designed where the student, when they get their schedule, they can type in their schedule. It'll pump out an Excel spreadsheet for them, and it shows them exactly what their schedule is if they don't want to follow the one that's on real time. Excuse me. It would be color coded just like this, all right, to keep it easier for them. So when we look at kind of a student schedule, this would be grade 9. Okay, and I'll walk you through each example. So in grade 9, you'll see the student starts with world history. They have Spanish 2, Algebra 1, and Phys Ed in the morning. Those are their classes that they would have. In the afternoon, they have Visual Arts, they have English 1, and they have Biology with lab. Now, one of the differences between our current schedule and next year's schedule is that the lab is actually built into their class since it's 55 minutes. So the lab will no longer be tied to Phys Ed. This helped us tremendously with scheduling because when you think about it, if a student wants to change a course now and they want to change their science class, we have to change more than one period. And so it really makes it hard for other opportunities for courses. So this really did help us with the schedule. So you'll see as they rotate through, every freshman takes CBIT and FinLit as a graduation requirement. The students getting their visual arts elective, I don't want to say out of the way, but they're taking their visual art elective as a freshman. Okay, in grade 10, this is the grade 10 schedule, pretty much the same. You'll see in this one, I put in concert band. So if you have a student that's in band, this is what their schedule would look like. Okay, and you'll see the concert band is in the afternoon in this particular schedule. This student has chemistry. They have Wall Street as an elective. And then they have driver's ed, which everybody takes in their sophomore year. They'll take first semester of their sophomore year because most students who are turning 16, they want to get their permit as quickly as possible. So we provide them driver's education in that first semester. And then they'll have their Panther period there.
I'm going off the script.
Go ahead,
just a quick jump in for those of you who are following this. And when you first look at a rotating drop block, it is confusing. When I taught in one, I had to carry around index cards in my front pocket and look to see, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be at 9:56. But you get used to it pretty quickly. But for anybody out there, this would be, say, the first week of the school year. Well, second week of the school year on Monday, what class would this student have first? And you don't have to say it out loud because no one likes getting things wrong, much less in public. But the week that follows this, the first class that this student would have would be, I heard somebody whisper it, and it's the correct answer, geometry, because you keep rotating. So you don't keep following the same schedule every week. Some weeks you have geometry to start the week twice in the same week. I mean, this is an incredible week because you get to start the day with English twice in 1 week. And quite frankly, I don't know what could be better than that. And I'll say one more thing about this too. What was really nice as a teacher is some classes are lights out phenomenal first thing in the morning. Most aren't. So this way you get a chance to see them at different levels of performance throughout the morning or for your afternoon groups throughout the afternoon. But anyway, great job on. Yep.
No. You would, yeah, you would technically skip that day. What we're going to do is we're going to monitor throughout the year, see like if we had 4 snow days and all 4 snow days are a day 2, then we would adjust that schedule because you are going to get as a parent, you're going to get a wall calendar that is going to have every school year every day of the year mapped out for you. So you can hang it on your refrigerator. It's going to say this is what May 6th is going to be. Okay. And so that we know that ahead of time. And that's great for the teachers too, for their planning. Okay, because this is something that the teachers have to get used to for their planning. Dr. Portas did the quiz ahead of time. I was going to do that in my junior slide, but that's totally fine, right? Because once you see this a couple times, you're going to start to get the hang of what this looks like. All right. So now here's your junior schedule, and I didn't put the electives in because I just wanted to show you in this model they have elective 1 and elective 2. So I'm just giving you different options of what this looks like for juniors because your electives may open up. Instead of environmental science, they may want to take physics. Okay, I just picked a student schedule here. And if you have a student who may have an IEP, these would be the same classes in a resource center setting, okay, in that scenario. So they would still have their labs. They would still have all their elective choices, right? All of those things are still options for you. Allied health stays the same, okay, as it is. It's not, it doesn't affect allied health. Okay, non-meeting means that their period 3 class and their period 7 class drops out that day. So they do not meet with period 3 or period 7 on that day. On this day, they don't meet period 2 and 6, 1 and 5, and then 4 and 8. So that's what that means. On day 4, okay, they are not actually meeting their US2 class. Okay, so on a day 4, they do not meet their US2 class. So you'll see on day 3, it's in green. Okay, the US2. So they do not meet US2 because that's technically their period 3. No, I just put that, we put that on the bottom so that you can see that 2 classes drop out a day. Yes.
Yeah, so the kids will still see a schedule that lists periods 1 through 8. It's just you're not going to meet necessarily during periods 1 through 8. So like this, how it says period 3 isn't meeting on Monday. Well, period 3 is the first class that they're going to have on the next day. So that's their U.S. history. So you just don't see U.S. history on that, well, on the 4 day.
You won't see history, and you also won't see environmental science, okay, in the afternoon. So on day 3, right? So on day 3, okay, they're actually starting with their period 3 class. So they have U.S. history period 3 because it doesn't meet on that first day. Okay, so if you have a grade 12, okay, so this is a student, I picked an AP class because this is a little bit different. Our AP science classes, due to the curriculum, still need lab time. Okay, so they will have a lab, and in that lab is also built a study hall for those seniors. Also, actually, all seniors have a choice to take a study. They don't have to, but the AP science students will get one because they're going to have the extra time built into their schedule. And most of our students taking AP sciences are taking multiple APs. One of the things that we talked about for our seniors, I met with them. One of the things we talked about in the AP government project actually that they were working on was a study period. So we're looking at that for our seniors for next year and have built that into the schedule. But this is a student who's taking choir. Okay, so you'll see they have choir built in the afternoon. Their math is calculus. They're taking AP Lit and AP Environmental Science. And then they have their Panther period in the afternoon. So this student begins with phys ed.
One of the things that you'll start to recognize after you spend a couple of years looking at this schedule, because it does look confusing. You're like you said, the numbers, the blocks, that all, where am I going? One of the things I've taught in this block for a long time, as you look at the numbers going down, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're like, why are we counting backward? Why don't we just count 1 through 4 like the rest of the world? So there's a reason for that, and I didn't recognize it when I first taught in this model, but it does provide some continuity, and then you'll recognize that the period before lunch and the period before the end of the day rotate out the next day. So you'll start with the period first, like the PE class on that day. The next day it's the second period. The next day it's the third period, and then on the 4th day in the rotation, it rotates out. So as you learn it, you start to just learn that mantra, like, okay, I had this class right before lunch. I don't have it tomorrow. I had this class right before the end of the day. I don't have it tomorrow. So that's how it rotates down. And so when you do flip the model and go the other direction, you don't quite get the consistency of that rotation, where you have it 3 days in a row. You would have it one day, then maybe not the next. As you look at the model, it does seem cleaner this way. And after talking to several districts, asking that question, why counting down? This is why. So really just learning that period before lunch, period before the end of the day, don't meet the next day.
So when you look at the changes at PTHS, and we'll get back to the schedule in a minute. Okay, we're moving now to 8:05 a.m. start time. So our warning bell would be at 8 o'clock. The expectation would be that the students would be in the building ready to go. They're going to their classes by 8 o'clock. We're going to move to the rotating drop block, still maintaining the 9-period day that we have. but with 2 instructional periods dropping each day, which means that students do have fewer classes. The instructional periods would be 55 minutes in length, and I did increase the passing time by a minute. We're currently at 3 minutes, and the students are trucking. And it doesn't really give them a lot of break in between classes here with an extended time, moving from 45 to 55, which 10 minutes is really not a long time. If you're going to go from 45 to say 70, which some districts do, or 45 to 60, an extra 15 minutes. 55, we found, adding that extra minute of passing time, it's not going to hurt anybody. It'll help them. And I'm hoping, honestly, that students will begin to use their lockers again, too. We have students, and I don't know if you noticed this, but they don't need to go to the gym. Their book bags are 70 pounds. And they seem to be okay with it, but they're not going to be okay with it when they're our age and their backs hurt, right? Or, at the middle school level, you want to make sure that they're growing, right? And you don't want them developing bad backs at that age. You and I, when we were in school, at least I was, lockers were like the place where I talked to people and hung out. I think I may have 15 kids that use lockers, right? So if we can reestablish that as a high school tradition, right? Just having that time, even that extra minute will help them in terms of gathering the things that they need. So we're looking at that. Opportunities for additional support during the lunch block and Panther period. So something with the schedule that is really nice is throughout the week, teachers will be available during the lunch period without giving up their own lunch. So I've scheduled it where the instructional time for them is built into the day to support their students. So if a student needs to see their math teacher is going to say, well, I'm available on day 3 and day 2 to provide extra help during lunch. Come in during your lunch block, come in and see me. And then they will get their own lunchtime. Because our math teachers, they're working straight through the day. And they do it out of the goodness of their heart. They want to see the students be successful, but a majority of them don't get lunch during the day. So we were able to build in time during that time. Mr. Foglio is going to talk about the Panther period in a minute, because that's a little bit different too. We had the addition of study halls for seniors. As I mentioned, our science labs are built into the science period, and our school day ends at 2:58. Okay, now you'll notice if I go back here or forward, I don't know what just happened. There we go. Okay, so if you notice here, the Panther period, okay, it starts at 2:38. If a student's in good standing, they don't owe extra work, they don't have to make up tests, they're not failing a class, they can leave at 2:36 and go home. Right now, we dismiss at 2:40. Okay, so they're good to go at 2:36. However, we have built in that 20-minute Panther period, and Mr. Foglio is going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, and I'll explain what that's going to be for the entire school.
All right. So as some of you know, this is my first year working at the district. And as I came into the building, I was told we're going to work on building a rotating drop block schedule. And then one of my very first meetings with staff, the question was asked, where do I provide extra time for my students? Because right now they're going through a 9-period day. There's no study halls. It's rapid fire. They're going right through the schedule. And even teachers were like, when do I have time to meet with students? When do I provide the extra time if they get extra time on a test or a quiz, or they need extra time on a project, and when can I meet them? And so this was one of the nice benefits of moving to this system, was providing the time at the end of the day for the Panther block. And that gives them time, like we talked about. It's not mandatory for students to necessarily go if they're in good standing, but it's an opportunity to then meet with your teachers. And it's not everybody in the building, because we were asked, well, why don't you put that at the beginning of the day and give extra help at the beginning of the day? Well, then we need supervision for the entire building while they're in the building. Whereas at the end of the day, we can let some of them go, and then we can ask for them to come to certain classes where they need the extra time. So if I had a physics test and I didn't finish, and my IP says I can have extra time, I go see my physics teacher at the end of the day. We make arrangements that I can finish the test there. So that's part of the Panther period. And if you just need to meet to go over something, also an opportunity to meet with your teacher. When I worked in the school district, we had something like this, and it was an opportunity for kids just to follow up with me at the end of the day. They could come back to my class. Some were like, I have time to kill before practice starts. Oh, let me go see Mr. Foglio and talk about, that lesson we had today on biology. So that was an opportunity for me just to even build rapport, but then also gave me a time to give extra help, extra time, those type of things. So that gave us an opportunity there for both students and teachers, requesting the same thing. We were also able to build in to every teacher's schedule, not every teacher, but most, a support period during their lunch. Like Mr. Hayzler mentioned, they will be scheduled during lunch to provide, say a writing lab for our English, people behind me. They can, meet for a writing lab to provide extra support during the lunch. And then they can get their lunch, later in the day. So again, this just really opened up the day for more quality minutes for our students.
So I put this language in because this is going to be language that we're going to send home. Our day ends at 2:58. So if a teacher needs a student, the expectation is that student's going to be there. Okay. We've been piloting this year a smart pass system where students, we can see where students are. We can schedule passes instead of writing them a pass. We type it into the computer, and then the student goes to that classroom. So, and the teachers can see it. So now what happens is if a student does need extra support, I'm Mr. Foglio's teacher. I can write a pass to Chris and say, hey, I need you to come see me to finish this test at 2:38 in room 515. Okay. So that he knows that he needs to stay and finish that test. A majority of our students may at 2:36 go home, right? But our AP teachers may say, hey, listen, we're going to have an AP review or AP test is coming up. Instead of coming back at 7 o'clock at night on the next 3 days, we're going to meet from 2:38 to 2:58, and we're going to do our study session at that time, right? So we're trying to build time in the day because our students are very busy. Right now our AP Lit group is here, right? But not everybody could come, right? So that time built into the day is going to be beneficial as we get ready for those things. There could be a number of days where I schedule a class meeting at that time, so I'm not pulling students out of their normal classes like I have to do right now. Okay, so our class meetings could take place during that time. So students would be expected to be in the building until 2:58, but in most occasions they might be able to leave at 2:36. It gives some flexibility to them, and this is a model that at other high schools are starting to implement, particularly after the pandemic. They realize that this really provides an opportunity for some more of that individualized instruction for students. The athletic, marching band, theatrical practices, nothing will happen after before 2:58, so they wouldn't be missing anything. What is nice about this too is like coaches could call a team down and say, hey, come down and see me at 2:38 to 2:58. We're going to do a study session so you guys can get your homework done before practice, so that you're not at least 20 minutes of it, so you're not doing more when you get home. Right. So it really does provide some, like I said, some of that extra flexibility. So the anticipated outcomes, health benefits, obviously moving towards a later start time. We've done a lot of research on alertness, clearer thinking, improved focus due to later start times. Obviously, as a high school parent myself, I know they stay up later, right? That doesn't mean that they're going to stay up that much later, right? But I know that when I told my son that he was going to be able to go in at 8:05, he's like, yes. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so we're hoping that we're going to see some of that come to fruition. Extra class time allows for deeper thinking. 45 minutes, it's rapid fire. I know because I live it and I don't teach in it. I just feel like I'm getting up all the time. Okay, bell rings out in the hallway. Here we go, next period. So this gives us a little bit of extra time where students can spend with their teachers. We're hoping that it leads to improved attendance and punctuality. Opportunities to see classes at different times during the day, as we've already mentioned. Increased opportunities to meet with school counselors. So during that extra Panther period, we could be meeting with seniors to discuss their college applications in their study halls. Like, it gives us a lot of opportunity for our counselors to really get to work more with our students. Looking at a more focused curriculum. Okay, right now our teachers have begun to look at what their curriculum is going to look like in this model and what things they can do and what things that they can further develop. And then we still get to maintain our extracurricular programming and athletic programming, which is crucial. One of the things that I did not want to do was have school after 3 o'clock because right now our students are leaving early as it is to go to events and games. You start having school at 3:15 and they're missing those classes, it can really be detrimental to their success. Also, because it rotates, they wouldn't be missing the same class then all the time. So, we're hoping with that improved attendance, it will also help. I use the example just because I know it. The golf team they're playing right now, they have to leave early probably once a week, and they're missing that last period every day, that they leave. So this would help them out a little bit as it goes to that. So I don't know if anybody has, I'm sure people do have questions. I'd be happy to go back to any slides. Here's what I need from you as parents as you digest this. This took us, Chris, Mr. Fogley and I have been working in this schedule for just about a year. We've looked at a variety of models of schedules. I know what you're thinking right now. How is my child going to know where they're going, right? They barely know where they're going now in a 9-period day, right? So this is something that when I talk to other principals, I talked with other supervisors, they said to me, Rich, it takes a week and then they get it. They know exactly what to do. Who has the hardest time? Huh? The parents have the hardest time because they're not living it, right? They're not living it. So once they get into the schedule, the teachers and students get right into it and they know exactly where they go on that given day. So we're going to communicate a variety of things to you in the summer. It'll be a little bit of a different back to school packet because I'm going to lay out everything for you. You'll have a full schedule of what the whole year looks like. We have planned out when our test days are, like, the SAT, PSAT. You're going to get all of that in one schedule, so you know exactly what's happening on any given day. I'm going to communicate, regularly in my Panther dens. Here's the schedule for the week, so that you know exactly what's coming up for the week, as will the students. So we've already started that process. Meeting with the students in the next several weeks. There's AP stuff going on right now. I don't want to unfocus them. I want them focused on that. So as we get done in between our preparing for the end of the year, I'm going to meet with the students, go over everything. And then with the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, the last 2 days of school, we're going to see if we have time to actually walk through a schedule. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but we'd really like to see if we can work that with the students, at least meet with them and go over what their schedule would be for next year. So there's a lot in place as we plan this out. It's going to take a lot of communication, but I think if you've worked with me, for those of you that have been with me a long time, I do communicate a lot, right? And I know my Panther Den's probably the highlight of your Friday. At least it puts you to sleep. But that's where we're gonna have a lot of information for you. All right. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you might have. Don't be afraid. Miss Roberto. Sure. Yep. So teachers will be available during that period. It depends on the day, how long they're there. Some teachers might have a 15-minute period just based on their prep that day. But the teachers are always going to communicate, and they're going to say, hey, I'm available every day after school on these days. But every day they're available. Okay, so I'll put it, how do I explain this? Dr. Portas, you may be able to do it better than me. But like on day 2, I'm available after school all the time for 20 minutes. On the other days, it might be 15 minutes because I'm teaching more during those days. Because with a teacher schedule, I didn't show that up here because didn't want to confuse you. Some teachers only have 3 classes a day that they teach on, depending on a rotation. So on that 3-day, they're going to provide extra help during that lunch window where the kids are and after school. Okay, does that make sense? But any teacher is available every day during the Panther period. Yep. You can tell them, listen, go see Mr. Hayzler after school during that Panther period. He's going to be there, and they will be there. What's nice about that is he can offer them in both sections. Yeah, I talked to Mr. Streifer about that. He's actually been asking, for more lesson time. So he can actually do those lessons during that lunch period and after school. So he's pretty excited about that, obviously, to have more time with the kids in those individualized lessons.
And one quick thing too about the dedicated time for the Panther period too is you can almost envision like in college where professors will tell you I have office hours these days at these times. So teachers who have the longer Panther periods, because the teacher is going to have either a schedule where they have 4 classes, 4 classes, 4 classes, 3 classes with rotation, or 5 classes, 4 classes, 3 classes, 3 classes. And we're not going to get into the weeds on that because it'll add a whole new variable and a massive element of confusion. Point being, they'll let the students know in their opening year syllabus that I will be available on 3 days and 1 days after school in this classroom for Panther period support, and also let them know about the lunch block support.
It will not be color coded, but we're going to send you a link where you can do that. We have a template where you'll be able to type it in. But what we have is the way we're going to have it set up is you're going to be able to see the schedule mapped out by kind of like the blocks. It just won't be color coded. All right. So yes, we do have the option to give you, and we're thinking about this. We created it where we call it day A. They're all period day A. So we can include that in the schedule, where they would have all 8 periods. You know, we're going to do that on day 1, right? The first day of school, I want them to see all of their teachers. It's important. You know, think back to when you were in school, right? You wanted to meet your teachers. That's a big part of high school. So on the first day, they're going to follow an all meet day. They're going to see all their teachers, and then we're going to start the rotation. You know, so those are things that will be in place. We're trying to figure out the best way that it's going to be visual for the kids, right? They will be able to do this. Okay. They may have to type it in themselves, but it'll be pretty self-explanatory on how to do it. So I tried to use the colors for you so you could see the linear progression. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, you can see if you look at like we could start the week with a day 1, but it's not going to rotate that way. So that's why we went to 4, 3, 2, 1. A lot of schools do it where it's day A and then you're starting with period 1, and then it's day B and you're starting with period. Then you have letters and numbers, and I just needed to keep it simple for me. And it just made sense to me, and to Mr. Foglio. So this is what we went with for the first, you know, and this is something that obviously, you know, we're going to look at. And if we need to tweak a little bit, we're going to tweak a little bit. But we're going to be out in the class. You know, I think the kids get sick of me seeing me in the hallway, but I'll be in the hallway going, "Hey guys, here's where we're going. Block 2. Let me see your schedule. Let's go." So we'll have everything ready to go in place. So with that, my expectation is, and I think the expectation that you want to go with is that you want to expect your child's going to be there till 3 o'clock every day. You know, that's probably the easiest way to go. And then just, you know, if they're going to leave early, reach out to that, you know, have them reach out to you and say, this is, you know, for the first week or so, I'm expecting that they're going to be leaving at 2:36 until we get into the motion of school, right? And things start to happen. You know, but that's going to be a communication between the student and the parent, really, and talking with other districts. That's how they do it, because they do have that option. You know, some districts, you know, with that smart pass, we're also seeing if we can communicate with parents through that as well. But I don't think we're at that point yet, where we can do that. But that's really going to be the communication between the student and the parent. But the expectation would be that they're there till 3 o'clock every day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. It's really based on what's happening in the classroom. So it's based on what's happening in the classroom. So if a student is in good academic standing, they don't need the support, then they don't have to stay. It's not, it's not something that's mandatory. But it is, if a student is failing, then we would pick that up in the intervention part of it in RTI. We'd say, listen, you are going to need to stay on these particular dates. You're passing all your classes. You're not owing any work. Okay. Yeah. 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 They can leave. Yeah. Their academic day ends at 2:36. Okay. That period is built in for them. Part of what we're trying to do too is build a culture of learning where they can go. If I'm a student that is seeking advancement, right, that's a great opportunity for me to go to get extra. Right. If I know that a test is coming up, I know my teacher's going to be there. I don't have to sit there and go, well, it's 9 o'clock at night. Let me make sure I email my teacher to see if he can be there, to give me extra help. They're going to be there. Right. So it's really, as much as it's putting the responsibility on the student, they also have the opportunity where they don't have to worry about emailing the teacher. They can just go, and that teacher's going to be there. They can go to see whoever they want during that period. For that 20-minute period, they can go and see whoever they want. It's a different type of thinking, right? It's more of an unstructured, I'll say a post-secondary model, right? Where the expectation is going to be, we're building a culture, right? That I can go and I want more, right? That's what we're looking for. I want more. And our teachers will be there to offer it to them when they need it. Mm-hmm. Well, there's no parameters around the lunchtime. Like kids are everywhere. It's unit lunch. We're here and we watch them. But if they go for extra help, like I'm not dictating that, Mrs. Hayzler is available during her lunchtime. And now she's going to have time built in her day where she's giving extra help during the lunch period. And then she gets lunch another period. Yeah.
And something we talked about too, how you see those television screens throughout the high school, those will have updates about which teacher is available and where during the lunch periods. So you'll know you might not have me for English, but Mr. Portas is going to be available in room 504 during lunch today. And it's anybody who needs extra help in English can go there. It's not just kids who are taking sophomore American Lit or senior English with me. It can be anybody. And my responsibility during that period when I'm assigned it is to provide support to kids who need help with whatever skills are specific to what they're trying to address. Yep. And I know it sounds like a little helter-skelter that way, but to me, that would almost be the dream, because that means the culture shift is really taking shape. And we've had people challenge us to say, do you really think the kids are going to come to the pants period? And my response is, yeah, why wouldn't they? Because it's free learning and it's additional support. And in some cases, yeah, some kids might not take to it right away. But what we're really hoping is that they can have that independent mindset where they're able to say, wait, you want to help me do better? And I can go to these different teachers during these periods. So I think it's going to be something that's going to be very intentional on the administrative team's end and the teacher's end to really instill that in the kids of take advantage of this opportunity.
There are things that, unfortunately, extra help is not mandatory. Our teachers do that on their time, and I'm so appreciative of that. Right. And some people just can't do it. They have to go pick up their children after work, and this gives them time to provide that to their students as well. So it creates some equity in the schedule, from a teacher's side. I have teachers that have never had a first period off, They teach first period every year, and there's teachers that teach last period every year because that's the way that the schedule goes. This provides them some, from a teacher side, some flexibility in their schedule as well because they're rotating through. So on a day one, they might have a prep in the first period so they can actually get themselves ready for the day, right? So it does create a little bit more equity from that side also. Now, this is really about that opportunity for those students, to get what they need. It eliminates excuses, but I also know that our students are doing a lot. They're working. I see them around town. They go home, they pick up their brothers and sisters, and they bring them home, and they're doing those things too. They have very little time in their day. And this day flies, and it is tough. For the students, it's school, whether we like it or not. Schools have changed. Our testing. There we go. We have to change with that. And so this is durations of schedules in my 24 years here, 23. This is something that is really exciting for me. When I look at this schedule, I'm like, wow, if I was a student, I would really like this schedule because maybe I don't want to see my teacher first period every day, or I know that I don't have to have that class that might drive me crazy every single day. I know that on Friday I don't have this class, or it can give some relief to that student. It gives them some change, and change isn't always a bad thing. It can be a great thing, right? If we take advantage of that opportunity. And so that's what this schedule is really all about. And it looks crazy, but it's going to take us a week or two to get into it and get going. And I'm truly excited about it. A little nervous, as Mr. Seborowski says, but nervousness for me is a good thing because that makes me work harder, makes me focus harder. Okay. And it's something that for me, I need to know that I need to be there for every student in the building so that they know where they're supposed to be. That's my job. Right. And I will work hard to make sure that that happens. And once we get into the schedule, I'm going to be looking for feedback from the kids, from the teachers, right? What things can we tweak and not tweak? And so it's a really exciting time. Yeah. So it depends on the week. There's going to be times where you might meet 3 times, you might meet 4 times. This was just one example. Yeah, so you have to look at the rotation within a 4-day cycle. Okay, and I might not have been clear on that. But if you look at day 4 through day 1, it's really a 4-day cycle. So you're going to see every class 3 times out of those 4 days. Okay, within that cycle. So in this particular week, this student has phys ed 4 times. The next week, they may only have it 3 times. So in this example, the next week, they would have calculus 4 days. Okay. So half days, we would stick with the rotation. The periods would be shorter. So we'll stay. It'll be a D day, but they'll have shorter periods that day. It won't be 55. They'll be 40. So around that time, and they would just see that day. We'll probably have throughout the course of the year, maybe 3 all meet days, depending on how the schedule works out. It'll be usually the first day of the year will definitely be one. And then we're looking to see, the last day of the year, we'll have them meet everyone. But we're going to try and stick on that rotation. And that's just something after researching how other schools do it. That's what we found to be a benefit. And what I've heard through everyone that we talk to on an all meet day, the kids are like, I want to go back to the rotation because I don't want this anymore. You know, so they learn, they see the advantage of it. So we're discussing finals in terms of midterms. We're going to see how that works out because that is a week worth of instruction that we don't want to lose, but we do value what those assessments tell us. So we're going to look at that a little bit and see if we can do that within the rotation. Maybe shorten up the tests a little bit and give them those benchmarks during the year. That's a discussion we're having right now. So we're gonna stick probably around the same time that we usually we keep them outside, you know, just for security reasons. We have them outside and we usually let them in, you know, about 10 minutes before the school day. So around 7, if we start at 8:05, around 7:55, we'll be letting the kids in during the winter months. We'll, you know, if they get dropped off at 7:40, you know, we'll let them in. They can sit in the auditorium. But, you know, dropping a student off at 7 a.m., there may not be, I'll be here, but I don't know, you know, if I'll have the staff here yet. We're still working on that. There are some things that we need to work out in terms of supervision. Right now, our focus is obviously on the instructional component and getting the students scheduled. Duties and supervision stuff, that's what we work on in the summer. So, you know, as the summer starts. But right now, it's really making sure that the schedule works. Kids have their schedules. My goal is to have student schedules out prior to Memorial Day. So that you have a chance to look at, and the students have a chance to look at the schedule. They did, when they got their course requests, have opportunities to add drop, you know, look at those things. We can't make major changes to the schedule, but if there's something course level wise that they're looking to do, you know, move up a level, or they want to take, you know, this AP over that AP, you know, we can, based on how the schedule works, we can try to do our best with that. But what they'll get on Memorial Day is a list of their courses of what it looks like. And then I'm going to spend time after Memorial Day going over the schedule with the kids. Because if I send them this home, their heads will probably explode and I'll have a lot of questions. So I want to make sure that I communicate this to them where we say, hey, let's look at your schedule now. Take out your classes and let's plug this in. So we will walk them through that schedule.
Something from a question from before too. When you look at the schedule here, obviously, I think you used the term snapshot. This is 1 week out of the 45 weeks that we'll have. But as a teacher who taught in almost this identical schedule, I found myself planning and thinking in 4-day blocks, where traditionally we always did 5 days because that's the work week. But you very much start to think in 4-day intervals because that's the rotation. So you're used to, okay, I'm going to have the kids 3 days out of these 4, and then the next 4-day block. So it is a bit of a mindset shift. And as a teacher, you pick up on it pretty quick. And the kids, I don't even think they recognize that as teachers, that's how we're delivering our instruction and our assessment schedule. But they very much get into the flow of that.
You're asking great questions, by the way. Yeah, they can say, listen, I already have I'm already scheduled to go here on this day. Teacher just makes it the next day, right? So if they needed to make up a test, let's say, or they needed extra time on that test, the test always takes the priority. Okay, let's say they were going for extra help to Mr. Foglio, but they didn't finish their math test. Okay, the math test would take the priority, and they would need to finish that, and then they could go to extra help the next day because that teacher is going to be available. Just like it does now. Okay, they just go. Yeah, they just go. Part of this is building independence. Okay, and we have to, you know, when you look at a high school. My vision, okay, is to make this the best academic institution that it can be, right? And when you look at models, giving kids flexibility, giving them independence, giving them accountability, it is going to benefit them in the long run, right? When our kids go off to college, nobody's going to tell them that they need to get up, right? They're going to need to get there and go there. And some classes are going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning, and some classes are going to be at 5 in the afternoon, right? And there's going to be classes that, you know, you can just get up and walk out. Now, that's what we're looking to do here, but I want them to know that if I'm doing really well, yeah, I can leave at 2:36, right? And if I need help, my teachers are going to be there for me. And it's building that culture into the schedule. They can go to 2 different teachers if they want, right? They can go and say, all right, I'm going to see math and English. I just need to go and ask my English teacher a question. I'm going to go, and then I'm going to go see my math teacher, right? So they have choice within that time period. And I'm not going to say that there's never going to be morning extra help ever again, right? But that's on the teacher side of it, right? They do that out of the goodness of their heart. But part of the reason why we're moving the schedule is to give them extra time, right? The students extra time to come here. So, that, and we built it into the day now, right? So as Ms. Barthman said, there is no excuse for not getting extra help. The teachers are going to be available. And as Mr. Severowski said, I'm also envisioning down the road teachers having opportunities to teach what they're passionate about. Like, hey, during the lunch period, you want to come play bass guitar with Mr. Shirazi, and because he was up here in the talent show this week, I'm doing a little workshop during lunch. Come on down and we'll do a little jazz quartet. Like, how awesome would that be? Where they start to, it gives teachers an opportunity to explore their passions in ways. I'm going to be teaching, we're going to come in and read some poetry. It's poetry month. Come on down to see Mr. Shirazi during your lunch period. Right. That's where we want to get to. Right. Not just about the extra help. It's about the extra learning, right? That we will have opportunities to do. Yes. So work study, as a senior, is not going to be affected. They would still have the afternoon, right? So you have to look at, they would have their work study during period blocks 4, 5, and 6. That would be their work study. So they would leave as they do now, right after lunch. And they would go to their work study. So, yeah. So now he would leave at 10:58. So they can still, we have kids that work during the elementary lunch periods. They may be 5 minutes late to the elementary schools to work at the lunch window, but it still gives our work study kids. And I had a question about the Allied Health Academy. Those rotations are still the same. They're still going to have their lab periods. Our anatomy and physiology periods are going to remain 2 periods because they go out on rotation. So we want to make sure they're maintaining those minutes of instruction in preparation for the Rutgers testing. So we've really looked at, right now, I probably have 6 different schedules here running at the same time, right? When you think about shared time VOTEC, we have full-time VOTEC, we have allied health, we have STEM, we have, there's a variety of iterations in our schedule that we operate on a daily basis. We've looked at every one to make sure that we've addressed any issue that could possibly come up. And have we missed something? Maybe, but that's the joy of it, is we're going to be able to say, okay, let's get into the schedule and see what we can do. All right. But we've been doing this ad nauseum now it's pretty much all I do, is look at the schedule every day. But it's been exciting for me. And so that's why I'm probably talking a lot quicker than you want me to with this, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We'll do this again in the summertime for parents. Once we have schedules out, we can do a night where you can come in. We'll go over schedules. So we want to communicate with you as much as possible. This won't be the last time that you see all these pretty colors up here. Thank you so much for being here. I know Dr. Portas probably closed us out, but I really want to thank you for the opportunity. Right? I started off talking about opportunities. When an opportunity presents itself, get after it. Right? So thank you for getting after it tonight and coming and listening to what we had to say, because we are looking out for the best interests of your children. That's what it's about. Right? And I say this all the time, probably more than I probably should, but my kids are here with me. Right? So they're the ones going through it too. And I want to make sure it's the best thing for them. And I firmly believe that this is a schedule that's going to work for us. It's going to show the success that we already do have, and it's going to build upon that. And that's what we're here to do. So thank you for your time. Thank you to Mr. Shea in the back for keeping all the online viewers in check, if they're still on there. Okay. The thousands and thousands of viewers. All right. So thank you, everybody. Dr. Portas, you want to close out, or are we good?
I think you just did.
All right.
Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.